Well, if you're like many families this weekend, when you have Easter dinner, you're having ham. And don't throw away the ham bone. It makes fantastic soup. I have a recipe here if you want to make pea soup. And today I'm going to show you how to make 16 bean soup, which is so hearty and delicious. And you can just make it to serve, but I'm also going to can it. So I'm going to show you how to can 16 bean soup. It is a very, very hearty, tasty recipe, and I hope you'll come along with me. Now, it's called 16 bean soup, but really it's misrepresentation. It actually includes peas also, so it should be called 16 legume soup. But anyway, let me tell you what's in it. I have to get out my magnifying glass. Let's see here. So, Great Northern beans, which is what a lot of people use, just navy beans to make bean soup. But I like the variety in this soup. Green split peas, pinto beans, small red beans, baby lima beans, light kidney beans, black-eyed peas, black beans, dark red kidney beans, garbanzo beans, lentils, large lima beans, pink beans, red lentils, small white beans, yellow split peas, ham. Oh, I was going to say ham seasoning, but that's in the package. But anyway, there's your 16 legumes in 16 bean soup. The ingredients you need for the soup is really simple. Good meaty ham bone. In this case, I have 2 ham bones. And I have 2 packages of the 16 bean soup mix. And each of those packages have a little seasoning packet, so I have 2 seasoning packets also. And then carrots and celery. That's it. That's all you need to make fantastic soup. Well, I hope you can see in here, look at that ham bone, huh? And I've got 2 that way because I want to make some great broth. Now, I'm just gonna top it off here. And you might say, how much water you put in? You know, no science. I have this big a pot, so I'm gonna fill it towards the top because this broth is gonna cook down and be a nice, rich broth. And we won't want it to boil over when it's on the stove, so we'll stop there. So I've got this beautiful, very large sweet onion. I'm gonna dice it up and put it in the ham broth. So I've put in the diced onion, and now I'm gonna clean up kitchen, do some chores, because I really want the broth here to cook down. Maybe about 25% to a third, because we want to get that great concentrated ham flavor. So we'll be back when we're at that point. Well, this is probably going to turn out just a little darker because of all the light behind me, but I want to talk about the importance of broth. That is what makes a soup. It's more important to me than anything you put into it, and you can't hurry it. You want to cook your bones slowly and release all that meaty flavor. So you start out with a lot of fluid, and then you condense it down until you have a fantastic concentrated broth. Well, you can see how the broth has condensed down. I'm going to be taking out the bones and letting them cool off just a bit, and then cutting off the meat and putting it back in the soup. So while our meat's cooling off, we're going to put the beans and the veggies and the little seasoning packets in the broth. So here's my beans the next morning. Now we're just going to rinse them, pour off the water, which you could save, it's got nutrients in it, or even give it to your houseplants. But we're going to get these beans ready to put in the soup. I thought maybe you'd like to see the beans after they've been rinsed. Aren't they pretty colors? Okay, so be careful because that broth is hot and it can splash up on you. And now I have maybe 6 cloves, maybe a little bit more of garlic minced up, and I have carrots. Normally I would put in more carrots, but this is all I had in my crisper. And these are the little seasoning packets, which I actually like the seasoning that comes with the soup. So I'm just going to use that. There we go. We have 2 packets. Now let's stir it up just a little here. Okay, I'm going to let that simmer just a little while the meat is cooling off. So we got a lot of nice meat chunks out of those bones. Now it's time to dump it into the soup. Get every good scrap out. Now I'm just going to let that simmer a bit. I'm going to warm up the pressure cooker and then we'll do a taste test. You'll notice this is a little cloudier than this, and that's because I probably forgot to put a little vinegar in my water that I put in my pressure canner, because I'm on a well. If you're in the city, you don't have to worry about that. But in the well, we might have some hardness in our water, and if you put a little vinegar, then your jars still turn out like that. But now it's getting time to fill the jars. Now I did a taste test and I think the soup is great. It's got a certain sweetness about it. And you could always add more spices when you uncan it and warm it up. And that way you don't over spice something, because you never know who you're going to be serving it to and what they like. Now some people would layer like their carrots and then their celery. You might notice I didn't put any celery in. Everybody puts celery in their bean soup, right? But my husband hates celery. But I've snuck some in because I've made my own home dehydrated celery powder, and I have a video if you're interested. And I've put some of this in as the seasoning. So in the beginning we're going to put in a bunch of beans here. And look at that good meat. And I'm going to put in one more of just the broth. And a bit more beans, and whoa, look at this chunk of meat. And we're going to keep on doing this until we get these jars full. Now we've got our jars filled, and so we just want to make sure we don't have any bubbles. So we use our debubbling tool. But you know, often I use a chopstick, works great. Just trying to make sure there's no air bubbles in there. Okay, now we can wipe the lids. Now something I use is a little vinegar on a cloth, but you can use just water. But if there's any fattiness, the vinegar just takes it right away. Because you don't want anything on your seal. Just wipe it off. So far it really doesn't feel like anything's on there, but hey, just in case. And now I can't remember, did I get that middle one or not? Oh, I'll do it again. Now it's time to put on our lids. And I do warm them a little. You don't have to. Just used to doing it that way, and you know, when you did it that way for so many years, yeah, hard to change. Because you get a little superstitious. Well, they always sealed with me doing this before, so gee, I better do it again. Now we'll get our rings, and you just finger tighten your lids. Come on. And that's tight enough. There's a little broth left over after I finished jarring it up, and so I had to taste that. Oh, and it's so incredibly rich and good. I could drink just this broth. I mean, it's really, really good. Now we're going to put our quart jars in our canner, and I have the water up to the level that you're supposed to for my canner, but you always want to do whatever your canner says. And this always makes it hard getting in here. All 7 jars are in the canner, and I've got it screwed up really nice and tight. So now I just have to wait until we get a lot of air coming right out of here. And then we're going to vent it for 10 minutes. Then we're going to put on our weight. And then we're going to see if our weight can get up to 10 pounds, which is what I use for my elevation. You should always check whatever you need for your elevation. So we have a nice steam coming out here. Time to put on our weight. I'm using the 10-pound weight for my elevation. Now we just have to wait until that comes up to the 10-pound mark. And then we're going to let it be in the canner for 90 minutes because it's quarts. If it was only pints, it'd be 75 minutes. Okay, it's not 10 pounds pressure. Now we set a timer for 90 minutes. If you're new to canning, you want to check out a video I have on how to pressure can. And I also have one that's always a good idea for a refresher. Check out Canning Safety. Well, now I'm in my nightgown and I finished all 11 quarts. So that's going to keep us a while and that'll be really nice on the pantry shelf. But I'm telling you, it's really easy. You should try making it. If you don't want to can it, that's fine. It makes a great soup. But if you want to can it, it's fantastic too. So I hope you make 16 bean soup. This is Potpourri saying please subscribe, share the knowledge, and thumbs up if you like this video.